Okay, you good?
Yep.
All right, I'll give us a countdown. Let me put my phone on airplane. Okay, 3, 2. What's good? We're here, Agent Talk Podcast. Joshua Grady here with my guy, a returned guest. You might actually be the first person outside of Lydia, outside of my wife. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that you are the first person outside of my wife to be on the podcast interview twice now. Okay, so not a rookie anymore. For those that's tuned in, this is Sterling Hofrichter. Sterling, good friend of mine, one of my clients. Do you mind showing the shirt that Sterling is repping today? You show? Yeah, he's repping today. There you go, y'all on the YouTube, tap in. Okay, Sterling, how are you doing today? You good, huh?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just got done kicking, got back, grabbed some groceries. Ready to roll.
Okay, so first question off the top. For you, the last time that you were on here, I think was, I don't know, was this before or after the draft? Around that time, maybe just after the draft, perhaps. I know you had not played your rookie season yet.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, I know for a fact you had not played your rookie season yet. With that said, just looking back, how old are you now?
How old?
Yes.
24.
Over the last year, from 23, 24, 2020 to 21, what is the one thing that you have learned the most?
That's so. I was just out in San Diego for training, and I learned a lot of stuff out there. I feel like the biggest thing that I learned is like what separates guys from the NFL to college is the mental aspect of the game. Like everyone has the talent to play in the NFL, or the majority of people do, but they don't make it because their mental aspect isn't there. Whether it's not being trained enough to kind of let go of a previous play and move on to the next one, or not be able to handle all the bright lights and stuff like that that comes with the NFL.
Mm. Okay, so let's talk on that. So that is a common discussion I've had recently with Byron as well as TJ as well. Is just kind of, I mean, even I did an interview earlier today with Matt Loopy, who's a guy that's on our team. We were talking about how just the importance of mindset and just the mental approach. What did you experience anything in your rookie year that made you realize that maybe the mental approach had more importance than you thought, or how maybe like what was your approach mentally even during your rookie year? What did you learn mentally? And I guess like how did this camp help you as well?
So I think my rookie year, I kind of went a lot by feel and just kind of going out there and just, oh, how do I feel today versus having some type of routine and stuff like that. So I think going into the next year, I'm looking more to be more in a routine, but, with physical, mental, kicking, stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited for this next year to put everything more together, kind of fill the puzzle more and figure out what works best for me. And I mean, over in San Diego with the camp, I just learned a lot of different mental aspects of how to kind of train your mind and stuff like that. And even just being around other guys and realizing, what they do to be great and
Mm.
versus what I do. Because everyone's different too, but you can always pick something from one person and figure out what that is that you like that they do and pick from them and add it to your game.
What was the name of this camp?
It was John Carney's launching pad. So John Carney kicked in the league for about 24 years.
24 years?
24 years. He bounced around. He was at the Saints, the Giants, and a couple other teams. So, but he played,
Wow.
he played for a long time. So I went out there to kind of learn from him because I already knew he was going to have a lot of good knowledge out there. So it was a good time.
Man, I did not really, I know the name. I've heard of Carney's Kicking. That's him, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I did not realize 24 years. That has to be a record, I would imagine. Like, I don't know.
I don't think it's the most because there's a lot of guys up there that have played a long time. I mean, I've been a Terry that literally just retired. Jeff
Right,
Eagles
right.
was a punter for the Giants who played for 20 something years. He was playing at like 44 or something like that. So it's
Wow.
it's crazy.
Hmm. That's pretty cool, man. That's so interesting. So this is, I guess, this is kind of a side note, but I will tell you, you might be you played soccer, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Roman, we have been putting Roman. Oh shoot, my mic came out. We have been putting Roman though, or like he has these balls, okay, and so now he's able to, move around and he can maneuver things of that nature, and he can kick, things of that sort. And it is because I never did anything with like I ran, cut, but never like kicked anything growing up. And it really is cool kind of seeing him like at his age, like trying like kicking, like I
Yeah.
don't know. Something about it, just the skill of it and utilizing your feet is just very different. And so that's just a side note that just, I wanted to get out there.
Hey, when,
Go,
when he's ready for training, let me know.
Hey, I got you. Say no more, man. He ain't too far off now. I did this episode I released with one of my friends that played fullback, and he was just kind of talking about the concussions and injuries. His dad was in the league for X amount of years, and I had asked him. He has a son. I had asked him, would you promote your son to play football? He said he wouldn't promote it. He would allow it, but it wouldn't be something he promoted. I said I don't want him to play football. I do not want Roman to play football, but I will have to add a asterisk to that because if he was a punter, kicker, holder, long snapper, really a specialist, different story. Like one of them four, I think we could have a discussion. That is something that like our college coach, he really was intentional. Coach Franklin, he saw this dude. He was a long snapper. He said he would come in do like 15 snaps every day, and if those 15 snaps were good, he was good.
Hmm.
Like just good to go. And I was like, what? you
Yeah.
know, but if you can, like you said, lock into the mental aspect because I think it's so much more mental that goes into it. Like that's something I realized before working with you. Like I didn't know anything about punting, kicking. You see the punters and kickers at practice, and you're like, well, y'all ain't doing nothing. Like, especially kickers. Kickers got it rough because you miss people
Mm.
coming after you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Punter, I think sometimes like but maybe not everyone does. What would be something? So I guess this is a question for you. What do you think is like a step in your routine? You spoke of the routine. How is your routine different? Like, what have you tangibly or are you tangibly doing, even not just football, maybe in your day to day or anything in regards to the routine in general that you have benefited from?
Yeah, so I'm adding quite a few things I think to this year that I want to do differently. So one is visualization. So I want to add that into my routine more, and try because a lot of it you can't go punt every day and you can't punt so many footballs every day, but you can sit there and visualize reps in your head and you benefit. I think you benefit more from that than doing actual punting reps. So I want to do more visualization and then adding more of a pre-kicking routine into my schedule on helping warm up to kick and help activate everything that needs to activate and
Mm.
just preparing my body for what I'm about to do out there on the field.
Were these the visualizations in the pre-kicking routine? Were these things that were discussed out in San Diego, you said, right?
Yeah, San
Were
Diego.
that Is that where this was kind of taught to you? Was this approach during the season? When did these two like factors come in for you?
So visualization, I did it before in college a couple times, or like I tried to do it my senior year a lot, and I really benefited from it. I felt
What
like.
is visualize like what is that when you say visualization? What to
So
take
I
me through
just
what that is?
So I'll sit there, I'll either sit down or I'll lay down on the ground and I'll close my eyes and just try to picture myself like in a game situation. And I mean, I can pretty much look at myself in a third person view on punting a football. And I'll sit
Mm,
there and try to do that. And it's the hardest thing to do, trying to visualize yourself succeeding in something or doing everything perfect for like 5 times is really hard because you start getting like doubt that kind of creeps into your mind of like, oh, what if I mess up the drop? Like, or like I do this different, and it's like you just have to kind of work on sticking to your perfect form, whatever works for you. So I did it before in college and I did my senior year and I did really well. And I kind of fell away from that. I want to get right back into that because I felt like that kind of helped set my mind right for the game, and it just helped me to kind of, like I said, not have to hit so many footballs, but also feel like I was getting all the work I could. And it's good
That's
to
good.
kind of it builds up your mental game too, to where you can sit there and like say you didn't have a great punt, but you can come back the next one and be like, I know what I have to do and be able to do it next time. And then the routine aspect, I learned that from both Coup and from being out in San Diego with Carney. So, I mean, Coup had a great year, obviously. Carney played 24 years, like I said. So, obviously, it works really well. And I just want to be able to get into a routine. And that way, it's everything every week, whatever works for me. Like, if I had a really great week, I want to do everything pretty much the same way and go through the week the same way. And just keep building on it each week.
Mhm. That's solid, man. Those are two really good points that you speak on. One, I will say definitely no brainers. Like both two examples, the ability to learn from a Pro Bowler and then I imagine an all time, great to someone to be able to have that sort of tenure. No brainer. One, but two, in regards to the visualization, I would be honest, man, that's probably was my biggest hurdle in college because coming out at Armwood, I played quarterback and we were just innately like we were all good, like I was good, but I wasn't great, but I was great because the team was great, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But then when I got to college, man, and I realized like, oh shoot, like you said, the mental aspect where you're no longer the quickest or fastest, or at least for us at my position. And I also play a little bit of receiver as well. The mental game, man, I was very weak at, bro. Like anytime I would, it'll be a rep coming up and I would like go to ensure like that I knew the play and what route to run, and I would just be nervous, bro. Like every rep, just because, like you said, man, that doubt it would really be real, bro. And it's not something that I realized until maybe like 23, 24 that I started realizing, man, like the power of the mind. The
Yeah.
power, yeah, the mind it's gonna take you where it's going, bro. So like
Right.
for you envision it, dropping a dime on the two, the one, the
Yep.
more that is replayed, it's you, and then you out there, it's like, oh, I've been here before,
Right,
you
exactly.
know.
So it's basically getting the reps, before you even get out there. So it's really
Yep.
cool. Especially so like for us too, I know like Armwood, we always had great athletes there to where I never felt like anyone was really like the guy on the team.
Mm,
It's like, oh, we have a bunch of really good like players, but I mean you have some guys who are the guy at high school and they get to college and it's hard for them to transition from being the guy to being like one of the guys because once you get
mm,
to college, I mean as you build up from high school to college to pro, it's not like you're the best anymore. You're just one of the best, or you're just the next guy. Like there's
right.
no you're the guy to game plan for. A lot of times it's just a lot of people around you that are just as good or could be better than you that you have to learn from and try to beat them out eventually.
Yes, and I would imagine as the higher that you go, the more emphasis there should be on you separating yourself mentally, I
Absolutely.
would say. Then there's something else that you had mentioned, one more thing, but I cannot remember. So the next thing I want to touch on with you, during your rookie year, you bought a car, yes?
Yep.
When was this?
January 31st.
January 3rd of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So 2021, January 3rd. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Can you take us through for those that do not know this car? I'm just curious, yes, because I want to get into talking about electric vehicles and the future and just kind of get into because I would say this, like there are investors on here, and that's something as well we could touch on. But for you and the route that you went, in regards to being a Tesla owner, what has been your experience? Because I think like I'll be honest, bro. On the outside looking in, I'm like, bro, that man got a Tesla. Like, that's tough. Like, it's just, you see them anytime you pass one, or at least for me, like, I know, like, oh, that's the Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, that's the Tesla.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like, what led you to buying a Tesla? What's been the experience like, for those that have never been in one, don't know, that are curious?
Yeah. So I had a Jeep Wrangler that started having problems. So I was like, and it was a northern vehicle too, so it had a bunch of rust. So I was like, I think I'm gonna get rid of this before more problems pop up. So I decided to sell it, and then I always wanted a Tesla. I don't know why, the self-driving, all the different features, and then at the facility and at the stadium we have free chargers to use. So I'm like, I can drive around for free basically. So that's what kind of helped me to pull the trigger on a Tesla.
Was there anyone on the team? I would imagine there are a few guys on the team that had a Tesla.
So there were probably a couple Teslas around, 2 to 3 maybe, and now I swear there's like 10 to 15. Like,
What is the draw? Like you even said, like you always wanted one. What is it about Tesla, the
so I think
brand? Mhm.
part of it is like the simplicity of it. Like my Tesla, there's no screen in front of me. It's just a big screen on the side. It's every time I drive it, I literally say it's like driving. It's like you're a child again because there's so many dumb but cool features in the Tesla. A lot of people love the acceleration, which is really fun to just step on it. And there's no shifting gears or anything. There's no noise from the engine. It's very kind of smooth and quiet. And I mean, there's just low
You ought to
maintenance.
be a sales rep for them, bro.
Low maintenance for me was another one. Like, no, I've driven it. I've already driven it 12,000 miles, and I haven't had to get an oil change or anything like that. I've only had two problems with it, and the first one was like a faulty wire that they had to that just shut down and just wouldn't drive. So I had to take it in, but they fixed it free of charge. And the second one was I was on a road trip and got a flat tire in Macon, and no one has Tesla tires for some reason, and there's no spare tires on Teslas. So I had to get
Mm.
my Tesla towed 90 miles to Atlanta, and so I had to get it towed, and I had to get a new tire. So it took 4 hours to do all that. So
Got you. So okay, that's here's a question then. What is the biggest con in quotes of owning a Tesla? Because from the outside looking in, I mean, it's like, oh, no brainer. Like me and you have tested on the mileage and like basically the cost to travel
mhm.
essentially and the decrease that you've seen in that. We can allow you to speak on that if you want, but I'm just curious, what has been, if there's one, what has been the biggest con and or perhaps like adjustment for you?
I think for me, I mean, my parents live in Florida, so I make that drive Atlanta to Florida quite a bit. And I think the biggest thing is the fact like the superchargers are good, but they're still slower than obviously filling up a gas car. And
Mm,
really, like to start the trip, it's not too bad because you can have the car at 100% the day that you leave, and you can drive about 3 hours on that, which is like a normal car. You know,
okay.
drive 200 something miles, and
Mhm.
then you stop. But then from there, it takes too long for it to charge. Like you can't just charge it up to 100% again. So you're kind of bouncing chargers on the way, like the rest of the trip down to wherever you're going. So
What is so okay? Okay, because you're using some terms now that some people don't know. Okay, so like the supercharge.
yeah,
Okay, so you leave the house, bro. I'm telling you, you ought to do your YouTube, bro. Like day in the life in my Tesla. Okay, so you leave the house charged, and
yep.
then you get to where you're low, and then what?
And then so you put in wherever you want to go. So if I want to drive to Tampa, it guides my route, tells me where to drive to. So there's no work, like that's the biggest thing. People are like, oh, where do you find the chargers? Like it's already, everything's calculated. And it'll tell
Mhm.
you too, like it'll be like, you'll arrive at this charger at 15%. And it is pretty
Oh,
dead,
really?
like I've never been like 15%, it's like 1%. Like unless you're gassing it and
Right.
flying, but it'll track kind of how much energy you're using throughout the whole drive, kind of like miles per gallon in a regular car, and it'll tell you, how much further you have to go. So it tracks everything like everything you need and tells you, how far you'll get there. So if I'm going to Tampa, it'll tell me where I need to stop to charge and how long to charge for usually,
Mm.
unless it's full. So they're trying to fix all their chargers, but unless it's full, it goes a little bit slower usually.
How
And
much? How long? Let's say you want to go from E to full. How long does that take?
that would be about, I think it's about 45 minutes, depending on which superchargers you go to, because they're starting to increase their supercharger network to where it's faster. I think Tesla just announced that they're coming out with 300 kilowatt chargers versus the 250. So, for
Okay.
instance, the 250 kilowatt charger for about a minute or two, you can, if you're low, like in a certain range, you can charge at about 1,000 miles per hour. But then it starts decreasing as your battery
Mm.
gets more and more full because the way the energy works, it's not allowed, it doesn't let it, all go in. I don't know how it all works, but pretty
That
much
is that's very in depth.
the optimum charging period is like 10 to 50%, and that's when you get like full charging capability.
Got you. Makes sense. And it's slow. Okay. Mm. There's a lot that goes into that, man. The science behind it is pretty cool.
Elon's pretty smart.
Did
So,
you okay? Did you Was the science of it whatsoever an interest to you as well? Like, was that I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I'm trying to see like the fact that they've been able to utilize certain resources to, produce even the AI technology is something that I think is very interesting. Like, was that ever an interest to you, or more so just the coolness of the car?
definitely that was an interest to me. Like I really like the overall um, features of the car. Um, the self-driving. I mean, I've sent you videos
Your
on it.
car has Okay, so can you speak on that?
It's not the so I don't have the full self-driving.
Hmm.
I had a rental Tesla that they gave me when my car broke down with that wire issue, and I didn't see the value in the 10 grand that they were trying to offer, which they're coming out with a subscription now on it per month. So I might next off season grab it if I'm doing road trips.
Mm.
But so mine has the autopilot, which basically just steers and does accelerator and braking, everything for me. So
It
uh,
steers,
yeah,
so
I
it
guess
drives.
it follows the lane that you're in, pretty much.
Follows the lane entry.
So
Okay,
if you're on the highway in the middle lane, unless you get out of with my feature, unless you get out of autopilot and move the car over yourself, it
you're
won't.
always in the middle lane.
It just stays there.
But if you pay the 10 grand,
So what I got from the 10 grand feature was it'll tell you, hey, you should move over to the left lane, and you put on the blinker, and then it'll change the lane for you. So it basically stays in the autopilot feature the whole way.
okay, so is there a Tesla now that you can drive without doing anything?
There's only, I think, two on the planet, and Elon Musk is one of the two people who has it.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe. I don't know. I forget who the other person is that has the other one, but there's only like two of those features out there where it
Got you.
will literally fully self-drive.
Is that in the future?
I think it's still a little bit away, but I think it could be done. I think the biggest thing too would be it would help if cars communicated with each other, basically.
I agree.
Um,
Yes.
because then it's like they know what cars are around them in a sense. So it's like a radar, pretty much like imagine like a airplane radar where it like shows where other airplanes are around
Mhm.
in the area. And if it did that, then it could be like, oh, there's no one on this road. We can just keep going.
Interesting. There's a term called that you're referring to, Internet of Things. And one of my friends, Drew, sent me a video about 3, 4 years ago. I know IBM is one of the companies that's really invested in trying to do things of that nature, similar to what you're saying. It even in the YouTube video I saw, it was even talking like buildings being able to like communicate, just like it's kind of crazy, like some of it, honestly. Like, I mean, cars being able to communicate,
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know, man. You think about like, what if we would have told someone 100 years ago, like, yeah, cars gonna be ran off of electricity? They would have said, no way. But
for,
now, you never know, bro. You
yeah,
never know. So, okay, that does make me. You are invested in Tesla, yes?
a little
Are you
bit.
invested in Tesla?
Yeah, I have a couple shares, but I'm more into index funds
Okay,
at
well,
the
you have
moment.
at least one share, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just curious. Okay, so you speak on index funds. Something I do want to talk about is just the financial route that you have taken in a sense. So on our, when I initially introduced you, if you anyone listening, if you have not listened to that one, the first interview, definitely tap in. Um, but for you, coming into your rookie year, I would imagine that the income that you received was the most that you've had in your name, I would guess. But
Mhm.
obviously, you came up with a certain basis of financial, understanding, education. Even before I think we met, you were already invested in like I think AT&T you had said,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So at least that was one that I know you had mentioned, well, way before we even signed. Um, with that said, though, what was it like for you to like get your signing bonus? What was it like for you to see those game checks, to see that X amount that's in your account with being an NFL player? What is that experience like? I'm just curious because a lot of people, we always hear the stories of guys going broke and doing things and this happened, blah blah blah. But to start at the root, and I guess I want to ask this question to our other guys as well. I would want to know, like, what is it like when you see, your account that's at a value that like just you just not seen before?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, when I got my signing bonus, I mean, I feel like a lot of it was like relief. I was like, wow, so I have enough money for me to actually live on in a sense. Because I
What
remember
was your signing bonus?
it was
It was-
97
Yeah,
before
I was
that.
gonna say it's around 100. Okay, yes.
So,
Okay.
but because I remember before I got the signing bonus, I think I had like $2,000 in my bank account, and I'm like the whole summer because I remember I didn't sign until July, and it just
Mm.
I kept
Right.
I was
Yes.
like, when am
Correct.
I getting this money that I'm supposed to get? Because I had no money through the whole summer, and it's just crazy. And then, especially with COVID happening, not knowing what's going to happen with the NFL season, that was
Mm.
I very much needed it. So I didn't even like, I don't think I ever spent really a dime of that because it was more just like, okay, this sets me up for, you know, just in case if I want to chase the dream of NFL longer, this will help me get through that for a while. So a lot of it I felt like was just relief to be like, okay, I have some money to live on for a little bit of time. So
Mm.
um, that was really cool. Then, like you talked about with the NFL checks coming in, I mean, I remember seeing the first one. I was like, okay, and just like it's just crazy seeing my bank account continue to grow over the weeks. And I started investing as soon as I got my signing bonus. I think,
Mm.
well, investing more because I started investing when I was freshman in college, with the checks we got, which weren't that much, but just throwing a little bit in every once in a while. And then once I started having actual income, I started doing dollar cost averaging, and I was investing some money in every week. So, I mean, most of it just going into the index funds and then occasionally buying some stocks I thought could take off.
Okay, so let's touch on that. So you got that's early. That's 18, 19. I don't think I started investing till maybe 22, I would say. So that's a great start because so they say, which I agree with 100%. The earlier you start, the better.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier you start, the better. So
Compound
no
interest, the eighth wonder of the world.
100%. 100%, man, is life changing. The ability to utilize compound interest and just for your advantage, man, no brainer. With that said, though, let's start with the index funds. For you, you really seem like you have developed, the long term mindset when it comes to finances and what you're trying to do. Why index funds? A lot of people, especially when we see, people what GameStop, has been able to do, or an AMC, or whatever it could be that these stocks that come on these, Twitter or Reddits that all made millions, Dogecoin, and all whatever it could be, you name it. But for you, you in dialogue, you've been very clear. The index routes and the continuous add-ins is where your mind is at. Why that approach?
So for me, index funds, there's not really any risk there in my opinion. And that's why I've followed Warren Buffett for a while, and he talked about the majority of people should just invest in index funds because it follows the market. It's not actively managed, so there's not many fees coming out of it. And because as regular people, we don't have all this time to kind of research everything. Like if we have another job, I'm not gonna go home and research stocks for 5 hours, later that night. So it's just a simpler way to invest. And then I remember Warren Buffett did a challenge with some actively managed funds and said that he would put $1 million against them if he put money into an index fund, that he would get a better return than they could by picking stocks. And I think he won like, I forget if it's over 25 years, but he won like 22 of the 25 years.
Mm.
3 years they beat, him investing in a index fund. And I know Tony Robbins, you gave me his book, and he talked a lot about the majority of active investors can't beat an index fund that just follows the market. So
Right.
to me, I'm like, why pay this other guy money to invest my money when he can't even beat me investing in an index fund 99% of the time. So
Simple.
that's my route. Every week, just dollar cost average, which is just putting the same amount of money into the same stocks every week or month or same time period. And that way you're buying high or low, and that way it's middling out. And then over time, it's just going to grow and make you money. So,
Man, the crazy thing about it though is like everything you're saying is so simple. Very simple formula. It takes away a lot of the emotional side. Cause for me, I did the opposite when I first started out.
mhm.
I was essentially using stocks as gambling. Like I'm all in and just riding it,
Yeah.
but definitely as you mature, you realize that's what it's about. It's the long term. And that's why I try to tell people because a lot of people they get deterred from wanting to invest in the manner that you mentioned due to the microwave philosophy that I got to get it now. Mm,
Yeah. And I like honestly, like investing in single stocks, if you hit it right, you're going to make way more money than I'll make on
right.
my index funds. But the risk reward is pretty big. I mean, I have some individual stocks. Like
What individual stocks?
I
What's
got,
yeah,
I got,
what you got?
I have American Airlines. I'm up 90% on that. I bought that pretty much in the pandemic.
Mm,
I have Boeing. Um, I have Churchill. Then we talked about that one, the
mhm,
electric company.
yes.
I got some Disney, some Ford, Neo, Starbucks, some Tesla. So
Solid.
kind of all over the place there, but
Yeah.
I mean, index funds will have all of those too. So, and I think
Got you.
my index funds right now I have like a 20, 12, and 19% return. So
Mm.
they're not. It's not like I'm really low. I mean, those are. If I can get that for my entire life, I'll be set. But
What percent, if you know, what percent of all your investments are in index funds?
mm, I don't know if I have a
If
percentage on that one.
if you had to guess.
It's
Over 50?
it's way over 50%. It's like
Okay,
majority of my money.
got you. That's okay, fair. Yeah, just curious. Mm. What so here's a question then that I have for you. So we got some people that listen, in regards to stocks, and you mentioned a few that you are invested in. I don't want to ask you to pick any stocks. I won't ask you that question, but I do want to know for the listeners that are interested in getting into investing. And one thing I'm big on is really understanding, like you had mentioned, whether it's the market or society, the world, the landscape of the world, what is the future going to potentially look like? For you, what would be one, you can mention more if you want, but what would be maybe one sector of the world that you think if someone was going to invest in, like maybe it's an index fund that covers a sector, what would that be that you think is like, okay, this right here is the future?
Mm. That's a hard question because there's like because I feel like for us too, like we always like everything changes. Every trend goes away and then it could come back later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think electric cars will take over more and more, especially as other companies get into it more and we start getting, regular trucks that have electric power. And also just like as I start to grow more and a sense of the battery and how far you can go, because that's a big thing that people don't like. Is they're like, oh well, my truck now can go 400 miles and this car can only go 200. Like, why would I get that? But I know eventually, I know Elon's working hard on it, that he's going to get, you know, I think one of the cyber trucks is supposed to go 500 miles. I'm like,
Mm,
I mean, that takes away everything that people complain about pretty much right there. And there'll still be gas cars that stick around, but I think a lot of people will transition to electric. So you have the electric industry, and then I mean, someone has to supply the electricity, so that could be in a sense something to look at. But
mm.
yeah, I just stick to index funds because it follows everything. It'll follow every trend. So I mean, there's people talking about Amazon will disappear one day, and it might. But I mean, right now everyone buys from Amazon, but
Mm.
I don't know how long that's gonna last. But to me, if I follow an index fund,
It doesn't matter what happens with
I'll
Amazon.
just be chilling.
You be chilling. They it's so simple, man. Well, okay, so for someone rookies that maybe are unaware, do you have any specific index funds that you yourself?
Um, so the ones that I have two Vanguard ones, and then
Okay,
I forget what the other one even is. But
got
Vanguard
you.
is basically the company that created index funds. There's a book I think called Little Book on Common Sense Investing or something like that,
Mm,
and it talks about I think his last name is Bogle. He created he was a part of Vanguard, and they created index funds back in like the 80s or something like that.
got you.
And literally just the simplicity of it. So a lot of it, I have one in like the top 500 pretty much. So the top 500 companies in the U.S. I have that one, and then just another one. It's a big cap, which is like all the major big companies will be in that. So it's like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, and I mean you have. So in a sense, like even if I didn't have Tesla stock, I'm still invested in Tesla, but I'm just
Correct.
not. So I don't have Apple stock, but I'm technically invested in Apple.
Correct.
So
Yes. That's good, man. I think that's
pretty simple.
the yeah, very simple but it's the best way to look at it because like you said, if you're invested into the top 500 companies, then no matter what happens, like you're good. And those index funds, they do their own management where they do kick out, this company is not performing, but this company, those.
Right.
So it's a no-brainer. I would definitely, for those listening, listen to them. Go on there, save up a little money, start an index fund, dollar cost average, you know, over the course of time, continue putting in the same amount just over and over. And it's just a very simple, manner. And some of the names that, like you mentioned, Warren Buffett, no brainer. Like, come on, someone, if you're listening to this, I know we got some college students in here that maybe you're like Sterling and you had the ambition he did when he first started out and you want to start, gain some wisdom, definitely that's a good place to start, I would say. So I did have another question that it made me think on though. Um, hmm, what would be one tip from what you have learned in regards to finances? You spoke on, the mindset and going through your rookie year, things of that nature. What would be maybe one tip that you would want to give to someone that's maybe they're 3, 4, 5 years behind? They're younger than you, let's say, that so far in your journey, that if you knew this, you think you would have maybe just gotten things just a little quicker. Like, is there anything that you think someone that is just because again, I know we have some high school and college students. Is there anything that you think someone in our time and age, day and age that we're in, that you think they should take to heart while listening to this?
Um, I think a lot of it just boils back to believing in yourself. People give their opinions on you and what you need to do. I've had people try to, change certain things for me, but I mean, you can pick up things from people, but don't completely change yourself. And I mean, also, I would say just learn from the best. So if it's reading a book, like don't listen to, I wouldn't personally listen to one of my buddies in college who's short trading and doing a bunch of crazy stuff like that. And while it looks good, like I see people post their wins, they're like, "Oh, this is too easy," but they
Never
don't.
their losses though.
People never post their losses, so
I
don't
know it.
don't follow the hype. Sometimes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So
What books are you reading a book right now?
So I'm still trying to get through Richard Branson's book, who created the Virgin Group, which is a big UK company.
Mm.
And then I have Mind Gym, which is
Mind Gym?
yep, it's a mental book. This guy, I don't know what his name is, he worked with a bunch of MLB teams, a bunch of professional athletes through the years. So
Hmm.
I mean, trying to get basically my mind right for the season for training camp. And I mean, I've read it before, and I've already picked up more things from it. And then I have some books on real estate that I want to get into.
I need to get a Mind Gym. That sounds, I kind of like the name of that one.
Yeah, it's
I
like
need
a
to get
short,
that one, huh?
it's a short like 200-page book, but a bunch of different information there about basically like yesterday I was reading is like people who are optimistic versus pessimistic,
Hmm.
and they're talking about even just like optimistic people are less likely to have a second heart attack than pessimistic people. Like kind of
Wow.
crazy, but um, so it's just looking at the world the right way and trying to be positive and everything. So
Yes. I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying though, with that visualization. That was it. That was what I had forgot earlier in the episode. It told you it was gonna. It always comes back. Always. It always comes back. The one thing I wanted to say. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. Um. Hmm. When we were talking about visualization, one thing I wanted to mention for everyone is that it can be applied, truly. And I think I might have said this, but just the emphasis on in every single thing that you can do, because like you just mentioned, those who are optimistic about life, their health, eating, their friendships, their careers, that stress doesn't come as easily, which raises your blood pressure. You're not having to, dive into these bad eating habits to cover up certain things because you're able to look at it into an optimistic view and not get anxiety about it. You know what I'm saying? You're able to get your sleep. You're able to get up out of bed and get your work in or your workout, whatever it could be. So that is just, man, it's good. I guess this, it seems like for you, you really had an emphasis on the power of the mind. You still been talking with Swami, huh?
yeah, I talk to him about every week.
Yeah, that's what is okay. So here's one of the last few questions I have. The importance of a coach, the importance of a mentor, the importance of someone like you. You've mentioned now, I think, multiple times in this podcast of finding someone that is like doing it, someone that's great and succeeding and learning from them.
Hmm.
What is the importance of that? Because I feel like in our day and age, a lot of people allow their pride to stop them from, admitting that this person might know more than me, or this person, they might be able to teach me something. But for you, clearly that, you're trying to learn, you're trying to, grow. Um, how important has it been for you to have those mentors and whatever that aspect looks like in life, in your career, in anything?
Yeah, I think it's huge because also a lot of it comes down to like who you hang out with is who you're gonna kind of think like who you're gonna be. So if you hang around a bunch of guys who just want to go out every weekend, aren't trying to save, for their future, I feel like that's what you're gonna turn out to be. So like I talked about with John Carney. I mean, he played 24 years. That he has so much knowledge from playing for 24 years on what worked for him. So I don't have to go through, say, like his first 5 years, he didn't like his routine that he had and he changed it. So I can kind of pick up where he left off versus me testing a theory out beforehand and wasting like 5 years of my career in a sense on
Mm,
thinking this is the way. Where with him now, I've kind of picked up on his off season, on his like the end of his career and what worked for him and what worked for the guys that he's been training. So I kind of pick up towards the end of everything, all the knowledge that he built up, and it just continually gets better. So I feel like I'm sure everyone else that's very successful has done the same thing. Like I'm sure Elon has learned from someone. I'm
facts.
sure Jeff Bezos has learned from people. Like you're always learning from people no matter what. And it just depends on who you're learning from, in my opinion.
That's good, man. That's really good. I told some NIL guys that my encouragement in regards to picking a brand manager or a team is that they should know more than you, like in regards to everything that you're asking them for advice and guidance on. You gonna get the Cybertruck, huh?
Uh, I don't think so. I don't know.
Have you considered? Are you considering it?
Not yet. I mean,
Okay.
maybe like 2 years. I don't know.
Okay.
See.
If there was a brand, a car that's not Tesla that you would get in the future, what would it be?
Mhm. I don't know. I'd have to like. I'm not all for Tesla 100%. Like, if another company came with a great electric car
Hmm.
that well, I would consider it so much. But like, to me, Tesla, they're just so far ahead of the game with their supercharging network. I think I talked to you about it before, where like the Ford Mustang Mach E, compared to the Tesla that I have, gets less miles. They use a third party charging system that kind of fails, it seems like, a lot from videos and stuff that I watched. So to me, Tesla's just, so far beyond where everyone else is. But I
Right.
did see something that Tesla may be letting other car companies use their superchargers in like 2022. So we'll
Mm.
see how that goes. But I think it also will get better when we start getting more and more chargers up and down highways that look more like gas stations. To where, like,
Yes.
if you drive in to Florida from Nashville, you're gonna sit there and, oh, I need gas, within 20 miles of being empty, and you'll find gas. Versus a Tesla or electric car, it's like you have to plan it out so much more.
Mm. That I think is definitely the future. I know that Neo, so that's something
Hmm.
y'all that have listened to it in. Y'all know I talk about all the time, so we're not gonna go down that route. But I do know there's an article that that's a massive part of their plan is to just utilize that. Something I will say too, in regards to just kind of studying economics and just history. This man had a podcast. Maybe it was a podcast or something on Twitter where he was talking about, and it led me to thinking about investing. I think it's a good philosophy to understand. He was talking about the gold rush in California, and he said it wasn't. He said a few people did get rich off of finding gold, but more people got rich over those that supplied, the picks and the axes and those, the tools, the shovels to dig out the gold. And I was like, man, that was very powerful. So that's just something, those that y'all invest, that's something to keep in mind. One of the last few questions I have for you, Sterling, right now, what is the number one thing that going into, you do have a season coming up, going into the season, uh, where's your mind at? Like what does it feel like going into year two versus year one? Um, how are you better? What are your goals? Like where are you just mentally going into year two?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm way better off going to my second year, understanding what's about to happen with training camp, with the season, just kind of preparing myself. Still gonna be a little different because now we actually have preseason games versus last year, but I just feel way more prepared and ready for what's about to happen. So, like I said, continuing to get my mind right, trying to read that book, get through it before camp starts, and pick up,
Mm,
little things to add to my arsenal to help me be better than I was last year. And um, just trying to set goals and get ready for what's to come. And also, another thing I learned is try not to focus on numbers in a sense, as punting, like for punting, being like, oh, let me reach this mark, but more like the quality of how I hit a football. So a
mm,
lot of times it's not about, how good it turns out for other people to see, but how well you see it in your eyes versus, like, because some people, like, if I hit a football and say it's not a bad, or not a good kick for me, and someone's never watched me punt, they'll be like, "Oh, it's a good punt," and in my head, I'm like, "That was not a good punt."
mm.
Or people, I can hit a ball, it's a really good ball, and they're like, "Ah, it's all right," but like to me, that was a really good ball. So a lot of it's just trying to. I'm gonna try a lot more this year to stay in my own head and kind of just focus on myself and what I'm doing versus other people. So I'm excited for it.
Man, it really seems like you have just been diving into, the power of the mind, man.
I
So
feel like I've grown so much from last season, so I'm excited to put it
It's
all
semen.
up.
Yeah, yeah. You can just tell like you're just it's between the ears for you right now,
Yep.
really honing in. So okay. I'm tapped in, bro. I think it's so easy to forget too that you did not have any preseason games last year.
Yeah.
You was just don't okay, you got time, huh? You got about
Yeah.
10 more minutes?
Yeah.
What is it? Because I know I did not interview since you actually started playing. First game. What was your first game? Who was your first game against?
At home versus Seattle.
At home versus Seattle. You punted that game, yes?
Yep.
What is it like? Take me through your first game. Just anything that was meaningful or memorable.
Um,
Was it memorable? Just what was that experience like?
yeah, it was definitely memorable being, first game ever played. So it was, I don't know, a lot of emotions, a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of not knowing what to do in a sense because it's my first pregame, not knowing, how I wanted to prepare. And that's like what it goes back to. Everyone's different. Their punter was punting a lot of footballs, in my opinion, and that's just not who I am. So I'm like, and it's hard sometimes watching another person, doing more. Like maybe I should do more. Maybe I should like compete, right? But you're not competing pregame, so it was a lot of mixed emotions. And then getting out there, every time I punt, I like black out in a sense. Like I don't think about anything. I don't focus on anything. I just go out there and do what I need to do, and kind of that's just how I work. So
Mm.
as soon as the first ball was snapped, my mind just disappeared, and I, I had a pretty good game. I don't remember anything that happened from it necessarily, but it felt like I punted the ball well. So yeah.
What was the hardest part or lowest part of your rookie year?
I think towards the middle of the season, I hit like a little pothole, so I wasn't performing as well as I could have. So I think a lot of it goes back to the mental aspect. Like once you have, if you have one bad game, you're going to be in your head, and you're going to be kind of like doubting yourself. In the Mind Gym book, I know one part that came up was talking about MLB players, and people like players will come from the AAA and get called up to the majors, and they'll sit there in their head thinking maybe I don't belong here, and you're
Mm.
just kind of setting yourself up for failure. And I think I kind of remember a little bit of thoughts like that, so I'm ready to get back out there and prove that I belong. And in my head, I belong there, so I'm
Yes.
just ready to show others, and I'm excited for the season.
Solid, man. What was your highest point during the season?
Highest point, I think, towards the beginning of the year. I think I had first couple games I played really well, and so just have to build on that this next year and just start off strong and continue to play strong.
Solid, man. That's good. Two more questions for you. First, where can people connect with you? Where can they follow you? Um, what you got? What's your
Uh, um,
Instagram?
what's my Instagram?
Yeah,
Just Sterling Hofrichter.
Sterling Hoffer. Twitter is the same. No,
Twitter is I think it's S Hofrichter 10.
S Hofrichter 10. How do you spell? Well, it'll be on the title. Hofrichter. Hofrichter. What is that? Where does that come from? Have I asked you that before?
It's German.
Does it have a German meaning?
Uh, I don't really know. I think it's like judge or something like that. I think I looked up
Judge.
like a judge, or I don't even
The judge. The judge. Got you. Okay. Okay. Did you watch what was that tournament that just happened last weekend? Golf.
golf tournament. That was
Yeah.
the Open.
British?
Yeah, it was in England.
You still following golf, huh?
Yeah, I didn't follow that one as much because I was on the West Coast, so the tournament was over at like 11 a.m. and I
Okay.
was sleeping pretty much.
How's your golf game right now?
I haven't played in forever. I'm playing Friday before we get underway here this season, but it's been all right.
I got you. Got you, man. I've been out here a little bit. I got some clubs now. So next
Well, next off season we'll get together.
yeah, we'll make it happen, man. Okay, last question I got for you. Before then, for y'all listening right now, if you get time, follow Sterling, follow us, Agent Talk, subscribe, review, 5-star review would be great if you enjoyed this dialogue with Sterling. If you got any gems, anything of sort, a like, whatever it could be, share with a friend. With that said, Sterling, last question. You know, you're no longer a rookie. You're going in year two. You know, you've been very fortunate. I think just from your family, the position that you're in, the wisdom that you've been able to obtain, the mentors, that you've been able to meet, everything. You know, you got a lot good. I would say that's going for you, and a lot of opportunity ahead. With that being said, what is the one thing that you are most grateful for today?
Today, I think you kind of touched on the family aspect. My family has been incredible throughout my whole life, my whole football career, high school, college, NFL. So I'm really thankful for them and everything that they do for me. So I think that's, and not just immediate family. I mean, even like some of my extended family and my girlfriend. They're always there,
Mm.
helping push me to be greater. So yeah.
Okay, so I said I lied. I do have one more question. First, though, yes, shout out to the fam. How is y'all? You just had another niece, right?
No, she's
Or she's
coming.
pregnant.
She's
Yeah,
coming in October.
Aaron is pregnant.
Yep.
Okay. Do they have a name?
No.
Not yet. Okay. Well, Aaron, Jordan, if y'all listening to this, hello, and prayers up for sure on the rest of pregnancy. Hope everything is smooth. Um, Collins is your niece, correct? Shout out Collins as well. Okay. I did have a question though. With that being said, as well as Mr. and Mrs. Hofrichter, I'm saying all this because hopefully maybe they listen to it. Then I'm gonna shout them all out. I think that's everyone. Uh, with that said, I do have one more question. Relationship. You and Maddie, y'all been dating over a year. What would be one tip that you would give to a young couple or single person or a married couple, whatever it could be? What would be just one tip that you would give to someone through your relationship that maybe you have learned with Maddie or just in general through your life, but anything in regards to relationships that you think could help someone else's relationship?
I think the biggest thing is that you're going to get in arguments because everyone is different. No one person thinks the same way. So, I mean, you'll never find someone who thinks
Facts.
100% about everything that you think about. So, it's just knowing that that's going to happen, that disagreements are going to happen, and it's just talking through it and understanding where the other person comes from and
Mhm.
basically compromising in a sense. Like, I don't agree with a lot of what people say, but I'm good friends with a lot of people that, like, a lot of people that I'm friends with, I don't agree with 100% on certain things, but that's what makes us all unique is we all think differently.
Mm,
So it's just understanding that, and just you don't have to be right. It's not everything. It's a debate basically. You accept the other person's views, they accept your views. You go
mm.
from there, in my opinion.
Got you. I like that. Okay. Shout out Maddie. Sterling, I appreciate you, man. If you need, anything as always, bro, I appreciate you. Y'all listening, tune in, tap in, whatever it could be. This is Joshua Grady here. Sterling Hofrichter. Tune in to my guy. Falcons. Go Falcons this year. I'm excited, man. Just excited for you. It's been good to talk to you. It's been good to I could tell like you have just matured mentally, bro. Like it seems like you're just on another plane, man. Just like locked in mentally. So it's good, bro. All right. Agent Talk. We out.